Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, and with me for all of the episodes of Skeleton Crew is my co-host, Kyle Gould.
Hello.
Welcome back.
It is wonderful to be here.
And we are going to be discussing episode 4, Can't Say I Remember No At-Atin.
That's good. You did a great job of that.
It's the natural timbre that is coming through with my cold.
Yeah.
Before we dig into that, I just want to do a special thanks for Adrian Gonzalez, who has decided to support What the Force in an awesome way. And as part of that, I do a special shout out and sort of ask people who kind of reach that tier level on my Patreon why they decided to support What the Force in this way. And he's actually somebody who had found my show through another podcast YouTube channel that had referenced me and decided to listen through all of my backlog, every single episode, and tweeted me about it. And when he had finished that, he vowed that he would join What the Force Patreon and support me. And I'm very thankful that he finds my channel on YouTube, but also the podcast, so sincere, thoughtful, thought-provoking. Those are his words. So thank you, Adrian, for supporting the show. And thank you to all my amazing patrons who get to read about my thoughts in addition to listening to my thoughts in their ears. So thank you.
It's a pretty incredible thing.
It's really awesome. At-Atin, or I can't say I remember no At-Atin, episode 4, was actually directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneinert. I can't pronounce it.
Schneinert.
They are both the Daniels behind Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And Swiss Army Man.
Yeah. And they are a pretty good collaborative team.
I would hasten to agree with that.
One thing overall for this episode that I've really noticed is that they're really digging into sort of the thematic way that Jason and the Argonauts or the Odyssey sort of plays out from a mythological perspective. They're going to these different places. They have sort of these mini little quests that they have to do. Maybe they don't even know why they're in this place because they've run ashore on the high seas. And so I'm going to be looking for a little bit more parallels within those sort of veins of mythology to kind of draw back some meaning as we go through the rest of the show, because I was fascinated by the fact that it really feels like a journey on the seas where you come upon sirens or you come upon cyclops, so I'm really, really excited about that. But overall, this episode was awesome. What did you think of it?
Yeah, this episode there's a lot going on for our 4 heroic characters and their chaperone, their babysitter.
Their babysitter.
And they do want to hit on that, the Greek motif you were just speaking about, because I was looking up some meanings here, and I found out that the meaning of Aten is man. It's a Hebrew word for a variant of the name Adam, and means man or red earth. And so we've got Aten meaning the, at man itself, where the place of treasure is that which is humankind. And then I also was looking it up and I found out that at Akron is essentially Acheron, or the River of Woe in Hades. There's been a lot of talk about at Akron being kind of a surrogate for the upside down, or the journey into the underworld, as we've talked about in the past.
You're stealing my notes. Are you looking at them?
No, but
I have stuff to talk about with that. Yes, absolutely.
But Acheron, being the River of Woe in Hades, is a great thing that you must cross in order to get into the underworld. And it feels very much like this is what we're going into right now. and we meet a guide along the way.
Exactly. So we have them arrive at the coordinates. That's where it starts, right?
Exactly. I was like, yeah, we're here.
Yeah, cloudy nebula, space stations are like satellites in there, which kind of replicate what we saw at Aden when they left.
Yep.
It went through like this cloudy sphere with these lights. The world is something that the kids recognize. Hey, there's their houses, you know? It feels familiar to us and to the kids. And Jod actually says, Renaud's ghost.
Yeah.
At Atten, like he's like a pirate swear or something. And they go onto autopilot, and this is where like we're crossing the threshold. And what Joseph Campbell says about this is that once you have traversed the threshold, the heroes move into a dream landscape of curious, fluid, ambiguous forms, and must survive a succession of trials. So that's from The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and really is talking about now we are in, again, these kids' version of the underworld. So even when they arrive, they start talking about how it tastes like Jod's like, it tastes like ashy dust. And Neil himself says that the ash and dust and smoke is bothering his trunk.
Yes. I especially liked one of the moments is where, and we're getting this more and more consistently, in that we are being told over and over and over again to trust in
Jod.
Jude Law's character. We're being told to trust in Jod Nana-Wood when he's ordered out of the cockpit, because, you know, everything is seen from the kid's perspective. When he goes to leave, you can see him turn, and he adheres to the kid's dictates. The captain has spoken. This is not a partnership. This is a you are our employee sort of thing. And I was a little disappointed in the intro credit, like the recapping that happens at the beginning, because it's like it just indicates or intimates that it's a partnership, but it was very clearly expressed last episode that this isn't a partnership. We're in charge. You listen to us. You obey us. And so when she orders him out of the cockpit, you can actually hear him chuckling as he says, "Aye, aye, Captain," and it gives him an opportunity then to go and do other things, and shows once again he listens to what the kids have to say. He's working to help them as best he can, but also that he's trustworthy.
And as soon as the autopilot kicks in, he's immediately there to help too, because they don't know what they're doing in that moment. It very much reminds me of the scene from Lilo and Stitch where she's about to go and buy her dog, but she doesn't have any money. And so she's like, I'm walking up there to buy my dog. And then she pats her sister on the side and is like, can I borrow $5? You know, like it's just that cute idea that like, yes, I'm doing this independently, but you're there right there next to me if I need you.
Absolutely. And also for me, it's every episode as we move through this series, I am reminded more and more of other kids in danger, adventurous kids movies from the 80s and 90s. And once again, I'm drawn back to Adventures in Babysitting, because here we are now out on an adventure, and the babysitter is constantly, you know, back in the space to help and to support the kids on their adventure. And we've got, you know, Elizabeth Shue in Adventures in Babysitting, but then there's the boyfriend Thor, and SM33 is very much like the boyfriend. So there's a lot of like things connecting here, but I went on another big pull, and I'm like, I just want to share that, like, if other people are excited by the way in which this show is structured, and if your kids are enjoying it, then not just Goonies is something you could go watch with your kids, or Adventures in Babysitting, like The Sandlot, Stand By Me, and Little Monsters and even Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. All of these are contemporaries to what we're seeing with Skeleton Crew. All of these are the progenitors to this great Star Wars show that we're getting right now.
Exactly. So Jude Law wants to come with them. Jod wants to follow them where they're going to go and explore this planet. And Fern says, no, you're staying behind.
Yeah.
33, watch him. And he says, initiating babysitting mode.
Yep. Don't
So
make me
good.
do a countdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the smile on Jude Law's face, on Jod's face when he's being told to stay behind it's just delightful. Like, he's like, okay, kids, you go and have your adventure. I'll figure out something on the ship and I'll come and save the day. Don't worry.
Save the day, yeah. So the kids explore this world and it is destroyed, right? It looks like home, but like isn't quite right.
Yep.
But they do sort of think that they might be able to find maybe knowledge here. Like anyone who lives here might know about their home. On the ship, Jod searches their bags. We get the little holiday special Easter egg. And he finds the credits.
Yay.
This is where we have the conflict with 33, where he lets on that he knows more than he realizes, I would say. At Akron, playing tricks on my memory circuits. 'Tis a dangerous place. I'm trying my best.
You're doing great.
At Atten, this place does remind me. Can't say I remember no At Atten. I haven't been the biggest fan of the titles, except when you like really go into it. It is actually kind of interesting to use a quote from the show.
If you embrace it 100% and say it exactly like the character, then yes.
You have to use the character's voice. That's the rules. So we realize that there's something wrong with 33 at this point. He has a memory lapse.
Yeah, it was interesting how he started to talk about it, and then the little mousy rat figure came popping out, and then climbed back in, and then his memory banks got skewed. So, I don't know if it was you or Will that first said it, but I'm wondering if this little rat type creature is the genuine captain.
That's what I've said.
Yes.
That the rat is in charge of him.
Yeah, the rat's the captain.
That would be amazing. Because he's been there the whole time.
Yes. Yes, just like Sam Reich.
Exactly. And memory loss is often like a disconnection with like your true self, right? Like you are, symbolically experiencing a death of sorts from who you truly are. And so you can only be whole by having all of these memories and pieces brought back together so we can actually see who 33 actually is in the end. And so this is a little bit of a collection of 33's lost bits too, right? Because as he's exploring these different planets and these different situations and with the kids, he's remembering more and more who he is too.
Right. Well, he's the map that we're recollecting. Like he's the pirate map where we're finding all the bits of the pirate map so we can find our way to the X to get the treasure. Exactly.
So we cut back to the kids and they're walking through this kind of like battlefield sort of, but it looks very like just urban in some ways.
Yeah, I got a real like post-apocalyptic urban. The tastes of like ash and dust, much like Jod's homeworld. Does.
A lot of people got spun up on that on the internet, by the way, that Jod is from one of these planets and like wild speculation about his history.
I love it. I'm not necessarily here for it. I'll be adjacent to it.
I appreciate speculation.
Yeah, I know how much you do. And we all know at this point how much I do not.
Wim picks up a stick and waves it around like a lightsaber, like all of us do.
And let's be clear, that is literally said in the subtitles. It waves it like a lightsaber.
But Wim is all of us.
Yes.
I emptied a roll of wrapping paper. We are recording during the Christmas season, of course. And I emptied a roll of wrapping paper and I pretended it was a lightsaber momentarily.
As every good cardboard tooth samurai does. Yeah,
Exactly.
of course. What I like about this moment here is we are still with the kids. So we're still like, there's some, not any longer now that we've had SM33 speak about it, but the kids are still thinking or of the belief that this could be at Atten. So is this the future? Have they moved forward in time? Has something dire happened? That's the kind of cool element here, is that we're still thinking maybe this is their planet, but it's for sure and clear now it's not, because here come the Troik.
No, first they come up across a statue.
King Noed. King Noed. Must be their leader.
It must be their leader. And this is so interesting because, like, Joseph Campbell talks about how the sun in the underworld is the Lord of the Dead. And so I feel like this is actually going to be an important puzzle piece, in that this might be the key to the supervisor on their planet.
Do you think that the statue with no head was erected before At Akron fell, or it was erected after At Akron fell by one of the roving bands that had taken supremacy for some time?
I think it's going to be a before thing. I think it's something that will play into the end. There's a couple of things that I think that they're picking up from a knowledge perspective that's going to come out in the finale.
Yeah. Also,
like this,
do you think that
later?
I'm wondering also if the influence of SM33's captain and his pirate band has anything to do with the downfall of these other planets or not, or if they had fallen before this
That's
SM33.
Yeah, I did like briefly think like maybe they are part of this problem, like the pirates that came before.
Right, because they crashed and died at Atten, and so never were able to influence it.
Yeah. And they could have just been, hey, this was the last remaining one. And because maybe the defense system was still working, or whatever that like nebula satellite system is, maybe that's why they couldn't actually do what they were planning on doing.
Yeah, that's true. There's a real Iron Giant sort of appearance of the giant statue without a head, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I do love Fern's response. You think his name is King No Head? I don't know. Could be. Truly, it could be. Yes. You get a shot of the statue getting shot, and then they have to like dodge out of the way. And we're introduced to a character wearing a helmet, but this character is very small, like them. What flag do you fly?
I love it.
And it's like, oh, what's your name? Who are you? We are Troik. And specifically, it's said in a French accent.
Is it French?
Oh, it's French.
It's vaguely Russian as well, and Troik would be a Russian word for like, it's not only a Russian folk dance, but it's also a traditional harness for driving
I'll say it's Russian
a series of
if
horses.
Hatan is also Russian.
Right, because Hatan is also a Russian word.
Okay, that's Russian.
Okay.
You sold me. I was going to say Viva la Resistance, but now I have to say that in whatever Russian is.
Yeah, down with the proletariat.
Down with the proletariat. That's what we say.
Or is it the bourgeoisie? I never remember these days. It's been too long since Social 20.
The proletariat are the people. Sorry, the proletariat are the workers, and the bourgeoisie are the people with all the money.
Exactly.
Down with the bourgeoisie. Yes, sorry.
So I think it's relevant because Troika is a Russian harness for driving horses, and of course it's a Russian vehicle drawn by 3 horses abreast, which is what's missing for the Troik and why they're up in arms.
They need the AOPs.
Yeah, there was Tatooine horses.
Tatooine horses, yeah, which we first saw in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And there was a poop joke.
Yeah, of course there was.
A patrol of Hattons?
Yeah.
Hattons? Passes and they hide from that patrol. And I love how she uses like an old school mirror to see if they're behind, if they've passed.
Yeah, so hatan means like strife or contention. It's literally a base word. It just means combat and conflict.
All right. Well, horse carriage versus conflict. Love it. But they sort of make friends with this young woman who doesn't give them her name. But she brings them to the ruins of a school, which they recognize instantaneously as a school like one they would have gone to. And this is sort of getting into the underworld aspects a little bit more, like seeing they already had walked through a house that was sort of destroyed and the tree was huge. Now they're going into the place where they spend, 7 to 8 hours a day at their school, and they're introduced to General Strix.
What a name.
It's a good name. It's mythological.
Right.
It's also a name of an owl, and it's also the name of Peter Fleming's pseudonym.
Oh, interesting.
So James Bond, the author of James Bond.
Isn't that Ian Fleming? Now we draw into question everything, right?
Now I'm going to question my Googling of things.
Yeah, definitely Ian Fleming is the writer of James Bond.
Not James Bond, but Peter Fleming is a writer.
Oh, okay. What did Peter Fleming write?
He is the eldest brother of Ian Fleming.
Oh, there you go.
They were both writers. And they primarily wrote about army fiction, being in the army, invasions, things like that.
Yeah, where Ian Fleming wrote about being a spy and turned it into a pulp novel, Peter Fleming kept everything to reality. Was a adventurer, wrote. He was a journalist and travel writer, so he wrote only about things that genuinely happened. Yes.
Although he did write some like fiction that was more like humorous, etc., but primarily known for his nonfiction. His more well-known brother. But from a mythological perspective, it was actually a beast that was very owl-like, that has been in several myths, where it was just a very scary thing that relied on its keen hearing and sharp eyesight to attack you, the Strix. And it was very owl-like, which is a type of owl that has been named after this mythological creature.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing. These Strix owls that would go out and suck the blood of infants. So yeah, I also thought it was really interesting in that his name was Strix, and it's very close to Styx, which is yet another river within the underworld. So there's a commonality there, since this is already at Akron. And then we get Strix. And,
he seems to be like, oh, I respect kids, but all you kids have to be trained in combat. It's a weird relationship General Strix has with the kids and his own daughter.
Yes.
Who we find out is named Haina.
Right. We haven't even met Strix yet. We've just been told we're going to go.
We meet him right away.
Well, before we meet him, I do want to call out something that Haina does, which is they hide from the Hatan, and she does that by rushing forward and kicking in the door of an old trolley car where they hide, right? Mm-hmm. And then again, just as a way of okay, now we'll go and meet my father. We're going to take you forward and do this thing. In order to do that, she runs forward, slides 15 feet in this cool slide, and then pops to her feet. And I think this is very important because it does three. We are being told 3 different ways from Sunday that Haina is cool. This is a cool character. Cool and capable. But moreover, she's just plain cool.
Yes, and this is playing into something that is actually really important for Neil and his character later on.
Yep. She's cool. She's capable because I think that's why they show us with her pulling out the little telescope with the mirror on the top of it. That's where she shows that she's capable. But all of this physicality is just to show us that she's cool. That way, when this capable, cool girl does this thing that she does with Neil later, we are all that much more blown away by it.
Yeah. That she sees something in him. Yeah. So they meet General Strix. They're all introduced. The kid that introduces them says they give us their names. Like Wim, Fern, KB, Neil. It was such a weird way to introduce them, but
yeah, these weird punks have given us their names. Their weak names.
These weak names, yeah. But they're like, hey, we would like to go home. Do you know anything about Atten? And they're like, no. But Haina says, what about the Fallen Sanctum?
What a cool name. What a cool name, especially since it is also the Supervisor's Tower, both of which are such cool names, especially on their own, but now in connection with each other, that within the underworld, within the dark side of the self, within this alternate world you go to know what things could be like if things go a different way or continue on the way they're currently going, that you need to stop, where the Supervisor's tower will fall, and a sanctum is always a enclosed space of knowledge and learning. So what cool naming. And on the same note, I'm hoping it was kids that named these things, because dang if kids don't name things real good.
Yeah, they really do. The kids, though, are set to train.
Yeah, what an interesting moment where they take this beat that doesn't have much in regards to the plot. And it's not over much, it's not driving conflict within the different character groups. And yet 2 key moments happen in this scene set between Neil and Haina, and then between Wim and KB.
Mm-hmm. And first of all, you get Neil rejecting the training. He's like, I don't want to do this. This is not my thing. Yeah.
Right. Oh, you're not rejecting the training. You just want a bigger gun.
Yeah,
I see where you're coming from. You are so wise.
These weapons are weak. Let me show you something bigger. And
he's like, but I want the biggest gun of all. I'm sorry.
So this is my speculation that because she's showing them that there's a giant gun on the top of the school, that Neil will be able to utilize that in the finale.
Oh, you think the finale goes back to Akron, or that there is a gun on the top of the school on
I think there's a gun on the top of the school at home.
Oh, wow. But also,
then
speculation.
The pirates attack, and then Neil can use the gun to defend his home.
Yeah, I think that's viable, but I also just think that this allows us to move through a doorway and open Haina up to a new idea.
Oh, absolutely. She goes into her generational trauma.
Yeah.
And the endless conflict that they find themselves in, which it can be a meta, lens parallel to the overall, conflict that seems to be happening in the Star War forever, right?
Right.
Good, bad. They're the ones with the AOP.
Well, you just keep fighting, right?
Yeah.
I think
AOP, we burned their grade down.
Yeah. I literally wrote this quote down. If it was me, I'd just say I'm sorry. That way there was no more fighting.
I knew you would resonate with that. I knew you would resonate with that.
Yeah. It hit real hard.
Yep.
Even if he's not my favorite character. Damn, is he getting close to it?
He also has taken a moment to give his rations that he received to some hungry kids that are just sitting there.
Yep.
And I think it's super important that they are exploring these destroyed world, and potentially more different worlds, like in a very Gulliver's Travel kind of way, that they're getting their eyes open to how it could be different, and will understand their own lives and world better through the experience of going to these other worlds. But Neil shares like what his experience is like with his world. Like, hey, there's where my mom works and that's where I'm going to work. And it's peaceful. And, you know, he really gives her a picture of what it could be, including playing a game called Slapball.
And then he doesn't describe it. He just lets it go.
I'm one of the best players.
See?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to John on the wood.
It was fighting is bad. If it was me, I'd probably say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he goes into the story of how he tried to fight once and it ended so horribly with him, with his son,
right.
with his little brother.
Yeah.
And at the end, she's like laughing at his story and how weak he is, but he scoots closer to her.
Yes, he does.
And so this is, from a hero's journey perspective, a meeting with the goddess.
All right, sure.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, she's cool.
She's like Brunhild.
She's a kid. She's cool.
She's a kid, but she represents, you know, a paragon of beauty, or as you said, she's really cool, and sort of a desire of who Neil thinks he could be, maybe.
Right.
But as an opposite gender, so represents his anima. And she could be like a sister or a mother or a bride. Like, that's who the goddess always is, right? It's some other person that could be representative of something that is missing in Neil's life. There is a promise of otherness in meeting with the goddess. She is an incarnation of a promise of perfection. And that being exiled from the world, your own world, shows your own inadequacies. But there is comforting, there's nourishing, there is an opportunity to sort of combine with your other self in it. That's what a meeting with the goddess happens. And it's always happens in the underworld usually. Sometimes it can be a dark goddess, i.e. she can hold something against you or she could tempt you. But in this situation, he's meeting with a cool girl.
Yeah, it's funny though too, because he's the one that offers her a new perspective. Mm-hmm. He's the one that shows her the new way.
But this is him having confidence in his truth.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of levels and nuance that's happening in regards to Neil's development in this and in connection with Haina. And a lot of people online have already said that they want to see more Haina in the future, that they want to see more EU related stuff or a book or some other fiction. They want to see her carried forward in some capacity because she just was a great character. And, you know, great characters are ones that grow and learn from the people around them. And that's really what happens in this moment.
We've had a similar moment like this in the Mandalorian cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. Mando in first season goes to that one planet where he meets Omura, like the homesteader woman.
Yep.
With her little daughter. And Mando meets her and she almost takes off his helmet. That was his like meeting with the goddess moment.
Also when he meets with the armorer too, right?
Mm-hmm. That's also one, yeah. It's very specific choices to use a woman for the armorer.
I think it's a nice reversal too.
Yeah, he always descends to go and meet with her. But that's the Mandalorian. They go out on patrol. Well, wait, first. Jod has...
Yeah, I love this moment.
He's like, I'm going out here.
I'm gonna steal the gold.
Steal the gold. Go deal with the situation. And SM-33 is like, yes, when we ran into these warriors and we snuck past them.
Yeah, and so he descends out of the ship.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite cuts, and what a great choice for direction. And I don't know if it's I don't know if it's necessarily right in the script, but what a great moment there where he puts his hands up and he says, "Just shoot me." You know what? Just shoot me. And then it immediately cuts to shooting.
Yeah, this is like just their like like in and out and everything like that. And then they head back, meet up with the kids and the rest of the kids, and they've had their kind of separate moments.
Yes. And I want to talk about that a bit if that's okay.
Sure.
Because KB nails all 3 shots immediately. That's the shooting that we see. Mm-hmm. Pew, pew, pew. Nails all 3. Wim fires a gun that's way too big for him and it throws him backwards like 20 feet. Great. Hilarious hijinks. But what's great also is that is not KB shooting, because KB was like, okay, well, this is the thing, and I did the thing. But then Wim's putting his hand up, so KB puts her hand up, and then Wim high fives KB, and that moment there's this micro smile that crosses her face when he recognizes something that she accomplished and did well with recognition of it, not something she typically gets. And I want to talk as well about the fact that there are different group hierarchies within a group, right? And we know for a fact that Fern is the captain. Fern is the alpha. And initially, Wim was the big push against against her alpha status. But Wim is an omega. He's the very, very bottom of the totem pole, which means that he's constantly going to be the one who goes out of his way to do something different. KB is the beta. KB is literally the next in line, the first, will always adhere to the dictates and promise and truth of the alpha. But the beta is oftentimes also the next most capable to lead. And so if at times when KB questions the alpha as the beta, that's a big statement, right? That's a big push here. When the omega questions, it's like, okay, you go do your own thing then. And if it works out, great for you. If it fails, it doesn't matter. You're the last of the totem pole. And so it's neat to see the interactions from a meta group perspective being played out in these tiny little ways where you get to see the omega and the beta have a moment of camaraderie, and then a kind of almost a flip where the omega then has to go and reassure the alpha that, you know what, you actually are the best and the one in charge. You're in the right position that you're supposed to be in.
Absolutely. So Strix has decided to send the kids out on patrol.
To death.
To death, yeah. Haina offers to come because Neil can't leave without his anima, who he's just like found a piece of himself in. And they're walking along and he's like, the real brave thing would be to make peace already if I couldn't love Neil anymore.
Right. But also, how can you not love Haina with your, danger's always easier to approach when you do it with a friend?
Yeah.
You're right. It is better with a friend.
And we have this tense moment where they're about to approach the army, or what we think, but the mist is obscuring everything. Very underworld-like. And actually, it's Jod and 33 that come out walking out of the fog with the herd of AOPs.
Yep.
Which they have bought with their stolen credits.
Yep. Which the kids know how he did it too.
Yep.
And I just loved his whistle to signal the AOPs to come forward. He's always in control and he's always calm. He's just like a Jedi in that he knows he's this, in the same way that Liam Neeson, when he's playing in The Phantom Menace versus Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan's always questioning him like, oh, why are you doing these things, Master? I don't understand. He's like, don't question the Force. The world works as it wills. We'll just kind of move along with the river. And I feel like he's really taking a page from that book where he just kind of accepts that this is how things play out and it'll all work out in the end.
I guess I'm hanging out with kids now.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to shepherd some children.
Yeah. And they all walk up, and Fern doesn't hug him, but walks up and is like, yep, it's good you came. And Neil immediately runs and hugs him.
Yes. Yeah, he really is the chunk from the Goonies.
Yeah.
Neil is. I keep trying to flip back and forth, but Data, who's played by Ke Huy Quan, is assuredly KB. Anyway, there's so many analogies to these kid movies because these are great, simple characters that have simple wants, just
exactly
to get home.
So after they have shown their bravery, Haina convinces the general to let them be taken to the Fallen Sanctum, so she'll guide them there, which is the Ad Akron's version of the Supervisor Tower. It's very similar to the one we see in Ad Aden, but it is all ruined and decayed. Upon leading them there, Haina and the crew move their separate ways. She's going to leave and go back, but
this is as far as I go.
Yeah, this is as far as I go. I have only helped you for this period of time as your ally, and now I need to go back to my underworld situation. But Neil does try to convince her to come with him.
Yeah.
And she comments how, like, your weakness has made you kind, and maybe kindness is good.
And I think my world needs more kindness.
I think my world needs more kindness, and maybe when I'm in charge, I'll remember this.
So she can't come with him, but she can take his teachings forward.
Yeah.
Which is just a great moment. And then the coolest moment happens in the entire show to date, followed by the dumbest thing. So, lead on.
So she gives him a nice kiss on the cheek, and I go, "Aw,
yeah!"
And then she runs away and parkours over.
Parkour.
Yeah. She does a flip, like a side flip over a.
Which is the third parkour type move. She's done 3 physical things. She's to show how cool she is, how capable she is. Right? Like a cool, capable girl kissed you.
Yes.
Not just like some cousin or whatnot, or just some girl down by the beach.
Or one
this
of your
is
brothers or the twins in your house, or your mom.
Exactly.
Cool. My girlfriend lives on Ad Akron. I can't,
Right? She's up in Canada. We met at camp.
Canada. My girlfriend from Canada.
Yeah, we met at Apocalypse Camp. It's fine. Look, this is here's why I say this is the dumbest thing ever. No one comments about it.
Right.
No one says anything. Cool. Nobody says, "Did a girl just kiss you?"
Nobody reacts, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they see the tower. Sorry.
Why not? Why didn't anybody react? Like, Jod comes and gets him and says, like, because Jod does that, right? Like, oh, the group's not all together. I got to go, hurt a kid. And I love that for him and about him. But nobody says anything about a girl giving him a kiss. Because he has been the lovesick boy the whole time. No, in the very first episode.
Wim should have said, "What about Rona?"
Right? I hope. I
think it was a gap. Yeah.
I hope that what happens is that is what initiates the next episode. That we start with the kids reminiscing about what happened, or they're even still in the Fallen Sanctum and they're dragging SM-33 out, right? Like, they're bringing him back to the ship. And they comment about it. And that's the opening dialogue, because it connects us from this pivotal, momentous scene in the previous episode where Neil reveals that being kind is the proper way forward. Unless you're throwing rocks at the heads of droids.
Exactly. So they go up the tower, which is a cool, like, elevator scene.
Yes.
And they enter into it, and it's kind of like, just ruiny building, but it does seem sort of modern but ruined, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at the columns. Wim notices that one of the columns has writing on it, so he wipes away the dust. And this is where we find the coordinates for all of these lost planets. All except at Aten. All the at names. Do you have any theories on why they're at Acorn, at Acorn?
Yeah, it's all at A names. I don't know yet. I think it hopefully will be revealed as we learn a bit more of them, but we have learned 6 of the named planets of the 9. We've learned 6 of them. None of them are really jumping out. You have to kind of think about them second, like tangentially, like at Aten being man and Akron being like kind of close to Acheron. Yeah. And so I'm thinking that if other ones are of import, they'll kind of be also in that vein, but there's also only so many A sounding names that'll fit nicely in this sort of smaller number of syllables. So it'll be interesting to see this play out. That
SM-33 had destroyed them after being ordered to by the old captain.
Yeah. What great writing that is. That's great writing. Who destroyed this? I did. Like, just great. Like, should have expected it all along that they'd been there, that he was the one that did this. Yeah. Had, completely wool pulled from our eyes on that to go, oh my God, that makes perfect sense.
And they don't typically bring him out of the ship.
Yeah.
So they brought him this time. Fern has a moment because of, doubt, because they've lost the most recent ability to find the coordinates.
Yeah. But it's interesting that I called it her breaking point because she has done 3 big things as the captain that have failed, and she's put her people in danger. Should she be the one in charge? She's starting to doubt herself. She's at her breaking point here. But what's interesting is that the camera angle, when we go back and forth between her and Wim, we are still looking up to Fern and we are still looking down to Wim. So there has been no flip. We are the positions between these two characters is still the same as it was in previous episodes. That Fern having this moment of doubt is a good thing for your leader to have. It's good for them to second guess and to think about whether or not what they're doing is the correct path forward. But it's also really telling and really powerful that our Omega is the one that says, no, boss, you're the boss.
Yeah.
You're amazing. And I don't doubt that you're going to be able to solve this problem. And I love how she's like, how dare you? How very dare you?
How dare you? How dare you comfort me?
No, because it's not a comfort, right? He's like, she's like, you say you're comforting me, but you're just telling me that I'm going to have to go solve this problem. Which is so good, right? Like, damn it. You're like, stop telling me I'm amazing and I'm good at problem solving because you just basically want me to go over there and be amazing and solve this problem. Yeah. Oh. And that is some great writing to make you think about when you think you're saying something that'll bolster someone's spirits. It's really just reinforcing the expectations you have for them.
Oh, absolutely. So this leads her to go and do what she knows. Actually, this is something that I do on my nanny droid all the time, which we've already seen, which is great.
I love it.
So she says, repair your old, your captain speaking, have your memory come back.
Manual override,
and ask the questions about the Aten coordinates. And this triggers something in him being like, well, there was an original order. If anyone asked about Aten, I was a pull him limb from limb.
Oh my God, it was so well done. I felt like
so
dire. I felt urgent worry, and I loved how KB and Wim crowd behind Fern.
Yep. And he got so big, right? Like he grew in size, and this is where we get the Cyclops parallel from.
Yeah, he really started to look like a K2 droid there, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. And also just like, like giant. He grew in size because we've seen him grow in size, but not quite that much. This is where everything gets very real. Neil sort of saves the day, but with John's help throwing a rock.
I love how John saves the day, but everyone congratulates Neil.
Pushing the off switch, and Neil faints. And that's where we end the episode.
It's so good. It was so weird. The music just is not the same tone as I was expecting for the end of an episode. It goes to black, and I was literally like, this must be the end. But is it? Because the music does not have a major chord conclusion.
No.
It just kind of moves into, and you're like, oh, so I'm going to guess we move right back into where we were for the start of the next episode. Yeah. But it's interesting that the music doesn't give us that nice, resolving, humorous, concluding major chord. This is a
much darker episode than the other 3 that we've had so far.
But it ends humorously. Yeah. Like, it ends with him saving the day and fainting, and this droid on top of him about to kiss him in the same way that he just got kissed.
Oh, it's so good. I'm really looking forward to next week.
Me too. I'm loving this so much. If I had one thing that I would want to speculate about,
speculation from Kyle.
I know, but it's never going to happen. It's not realistic at all. But it's at the end of the day when all of this is resolved and they're back with their parents, which I mind add you, there's no parents. There's no movement on that scene or on the storyline that's going on with the moms and the dad, right? None of that is happening. So we're not getting any forward momentum there from that scene and that story. But speculation wise, part of me really wants to have like either an older version of them, in a concluding scene, or some other, the other heroes or whatnot, or connecting to the skeleton crew is to have, like, if we did have Fred Savage, Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman, or Corey Hart, and Ke Huy Quan in there, like in some sort of like just a shot or a scene of them, or they're in a bar and the other kids come in and there's a side by side between them, that would really speak to me that like all of my analogies about all of these kids movies and all these kids in danger movies from the 80s are really being played out in a modern day Star Wars setting.
That would be the hugest of Easter eggs.
I just would like to see that. Like, maybe throw Elizabeth Shue in there too, right? Like, because Fern. But Anyway.
All right.
I loved it. It was great.
Any final thoughts, Kyle, before we end the episode? Do you think that they'll go to... I personally think they're going to have to go to another one of these planets to find the Aten coordinates, potentially, or more pieces of the treasure map, which is all in SM33's
brain. I'm so happy and excited with where this show is going. We're 4 episodes in. We have 4 episodes left. We have 1 more month of the most delightful Star Wars I've seen in a while. And I love how it packs a punch at the same time as being something that really speaks to kids. Mm-hmm. It speaks to not only our child, but I think it speaks to the inner child too. Yeah. And I think that that's important. And James Acaster's recent special talks about how he went to Disney World with his girlfriend, and they brought the boy with them, and they brought the girl with them as well, so that the boy and the girl had a great time too. And that when you're with somebody, he absolutely was talking about his inner child. They don't have kids. They are kids. They carry that kid within them. And you need to be able to go and do stuff and pull out and reveal the inner kid with your partner. Because if you can't connect with your partner's inner kid and your own inner kid, then you're not connecting on as many connection points as you possibly can. And what's great about this show is I feel like my little kid inside of me is being spoken to. At the same time as the adult me is being shown something that I can think deeper thoughts about, right? Like this show exists on multiple levels.
And I think that's very true. And if you can be a kid again for a little bit, it's with a new story that feels like it understands the language by which you were spoken to as a child. I don't think it's quite nostalgia. I think it's a different third thing.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
And also, it just makes me want to play the board game Scythe.
Oh.
At Akron is just the world of Scythe.
Yeah.
And I just want to get in there with my Russian hat on.
Post-apocalyptic war games? Okay.
Exactly. Get in my little mech and go and try to eke out an existence trying to get to the Foundry or the Fallen Sanctum.
Exactly. And with that, where can people find you, Kyle, if they're looking for more of the things that you do online?
Well, right now I'm at my mom's house, so we're not even in the same room together this time. So the only way anyone can find me is online. And you should find me on Blue Sky, because I feel that that's a place of harmonious contentment and where people of like-minded kindness are also out there existing in a social state. Other places you could find me, but I think they are not kind places.
That's a nice way to put that. We will be back next week, depending on family schedules, to release our insight on Skeleton Crew episode 5. So
yeah,
look forward to having you back then.
Yeah, it might be a little late, folks. It is a pretty big Christmas for my family this year. And so do bear with us if we're a couple of days behind.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Cheers. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. You can support the show directly on Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We'd like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Adrian, Sarah Joy, Scott, John, Sophie H., In Wild Space, Minky Moo, Derek C., How Rude, Neil, Christian, Luca, Carly Ann, and Scott C. Support the show by wearing the Force with our merch. Like and subscribe on YouTube, or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. You can connect with us on Blue Sky at WT Force, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or on our website, whattheforce.ca, or Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.